Hey guys, so I recently finally finished the Metamorphoses. It was honestly a bit of a struggle pushing through at the very end because it was a bit redundant for me just being not super familiar with Greek history and all of the characters involved. So I got a bit lost in the names and the repetition of the whole theme of although change occurs, it's not truly change. Everything is begotten from something else, and that we all kind of stem from this one unified thing. Very abstract way I put it there, but yeah, I found Ovid was really repeating himself, especially in that last chapter. So I'm very excited to be starting Emma now, and I thought I would do another reading vlog because I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to go to the gym now, do some kickboxing, maybe I can show that to you guys, but I'm also going to the beach tomorrow, and this weekend I'm going to Fort Lauderdale. And I'll be taking this baby with me, so what better time to vlog and do more dumpage with all of you guys. So hope you guys enjoy this reading vlog. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Hi, I'm here in my mom's little reading nook. Say hi, Mama. What are you reading? The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. And I got about 14% through Emma today. I want to read more, but I'm just super tired. I'm really enjoying the characterization in particular. I'm only about 55 pages through, and I feel like I really intimately understand each of the characters. Mr. Knightley and Emma, I just finished a chapter where they had an interaction about, I'm so bad with names, Harriet, with Harriet turning down the farmer boy who is, or farmer boy Mr. Martin, yeah. Their interaction, even though they both have their own flaws and they're both very set in their own ways, Emma in particular is not nearly as worldly as he is, and obviously he is not as familiar with the ways of women and not really as familiar or concerned with their independence, or he can't really understand Emma's preoccupation with securing her friend's high place in society. So you can see those flaws in each of the characters, but the way Austen writes everyone is very endearing, and I'm just finding the book very cheery overall. I'm just really enjoying a character-heavy book after the constant rapid-firing plots of the Metamorphoses, where I really enjoyed all the different stories and just explanations for every flower, every tree that we have. There was some sort of love story or some sort of tragedy that happened that begot all these beautiful things in our world, but a more intimate look at people and love in also just such a funny and lighthearted way. It's a really fun read, and I'm excited to read a lot more tomorrow, especially at the beach. Definitely want to read more. The spirit is strong, but the flesh is weak. Is that the saying? It's definitely true right now. I'm gonna get some sleep. I'll see you guys tomorrow. saw, we did not end up at the beach, but we ended up at Pet Supermarket, which was totally adorable. I'm about 35% of the way through Emma right now, and I'm just loving the little miscommunication shenanigans, and just Emma's character is so charming even in all her faults. As I was saying before, just how sure she is of herself and how that leads to those miscommunications, and that amplification that Austen has, that wit that she infuses into everyday situations, which we can so instantly recall our own instances of similar things happening to us, like little matchmaking situations in our own lives, or just little quarrels or disagreements with dear family members, and just navigating waters with new friends. And I've really enjoyed Austen's style of writing. I feel like if Emma was written by any other author, I would not enjoy the light, really sort of not vapid at all, but I feel like if it was written by someone less artful, less skillful, less intentional than Austen, it would come off that way. So really I'm just falling in love with her writing, her diction, and just how funny and fun it is. That might be a lot like what I said last time, but that's really what I'm feeling. I'll try and take some little bullet pointed notes as I get near and past the 50% way through mark, just so I have more specific things to touch on, more specific plot points maybe I can speak about with you guys. But for now, it seems like I'm going to be taking Emma to the pool with me, and yeah, so see you guys later. So I've read a little bit past halfway in Emma, and although I didn't have time to jot down any notes because we're having a lot of fun out in Fort Lauderdale today, obviously you saw we had some very good grub, got some fresh sea air, but I still do have some thoughts I would like to share. First off, Miss Bates, her character of just the rambling, the verbal dumpage. I can kind of relate to it, but also her way of going about it is a lot more aimless, and I'm pretty sure we can all relate to that feeling of being trapped in a conversation with someone who just keeps going on and on like a clown who keeps pulling out handkerchiefs from Lord knows where. It's very impressive in a sense. How do you do that? Every time I read Austen's passages on Miss Bates, I think it's hilarious. Moving on to the comparisons that are frequently drawn between Austen and Bronte, I can definitely see why now. I had watched a video on Intelligence Squared, I believe, but since I had never read Austen before, I had only confined myself to the Bronte sections of the video because I didn't want to spoil myself, obviously. And now that I have interacted with some of Austen's work, both authors are keenly interested in commenting on class and on sex, and how those two sort of faculties of the person, of the individual, of someone's identity play out in society. And while Bronte showed this in a much more unfiltered, raw, as they were wont to say back then, animalistic way, where you see these almost violent throes of passion. And you also see Catherine, who sort of embraces more mannish qualities more directly in order to secure her own form of independence. Like, she likes roughhousing and playing around in the mud and all of that. Independence of a woman in Emma, we sort of see that by marrying up, by being very conscious of class and playing strategically in that system to game her way up and secure her own financial status, I guess is the way to put it. That is the way a woman is independent, but it is still playing into that system. So whereas we see the destruction of the characters in Bronte, we still see this sort of confinement in these systems at play within Austen's works. It is a lot more playful and cheerful, and as a result, we can't really see the consequences of those prejudice systems of sex and class. We see them remarked upon, and we see them more played into here in Austen, but that overall results in a more cheerful, tongue-in-cheek sort of tone than we get with Bronte, which is much more affecting, much more viscerally gripping. Hopefully that made sense. As I said, working off no bullet points, just put the book down and wanted to talk to you guys. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Austen versus Bronte. I quite like them both. I'm not sure who reigns supreme because I haven't even finished Emma yet. So tomorrow's gonna be fun. We got yoga, we got lunch reservations, and then we're heading back home, but I'll make sure to get all of that for you guys. So see you guys later. New tripod. Whoa, 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 not so close to my face. It's tolerable now. Whoa. Now it's Monday. We're back from our little staycation. As you saw, the food was absolutely incredible. If you're ever in Fort Lauderdale and you get the chance to dine at 𝕬𝕬, highly, highly recommend it. Amazing Korean Japanese fusion. And we got to do some yoga, my mom and I. And I just got to swim, relax. We read together when we came back by the pool, which I wanted to do more of today, but unfortunately it is a bit of a rainy day, so I'm gonna be with Emma inside. And yeah, I'm about 73% of the way through, so I'm hoping, since I'm confined inside for the rest of the day, I can really get to finish this. So I'll reserve the rest of my thoughts for the book when I finish. I am very, very invested in who is gonna end up with who, which I'm usually not very taken or enthralled by romances. And I know I've said it a million times, but it's just the way Austen writes. I have no words. If you read it and you hated it and you think it's marriage musical chairs, as I've seen it quoted on the interwebs, you're definitely totally 100% right. And technically not that much happens, but you know, in our minds we so magnify things, emotions like love and fear, and especially in this book, vanity being self-absorbed, and that leads to everything feeling magnified, and I am just fully experiencing that magnification of everything with Emma, with Mr. Knightley, with Mrs. Weston. Besides Emma, what I also have going on for today is I started LSAT prep on Khan Academy independently. I'll put up a little scan of some of my notes here. Right now I'm trying to cover, I believe it's, what is it? I'm doing great. Ordering notation? I spent a good amount of time doing it this morning, at least 2.5 hours. But yeah, so I want to work more on that today. I really want to deepen my understanding. And going into college now in August, since I don't have any experience really in mock trial or public speaking, I feel as though I need to sort of bolster my skills that could be used in a sort of lawyer setting in the profession by myself. I need to cultivate that so I'm a little bit ahead of the game, or just prepared, or even just at equal footing with other people who have had other experiences like the mock trial, like the public speaking. So yeah, it's a little bit daunting, but I feel good knowing that I'm investing this time for myself, starting to learn those things, and that I'm totally intrinsically motivated. It's not an extrinsic motivation or extrinsic pressure that's compelling me to do these notes. Like, it's just me wanting to learn, and it's a good feeling. It's scary knowing what you don't know, but it's a good feeling pursuing that knowledge. It looks like I'm gonna be cooped up. Very gloomy day outside. So hopefully I'll see you guys later tonight with my thoughts on this baby. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning for sure. Can't wait to finish Emma. See you guys later. Hey guys, although I finished Emma, like I said, yesterday night, the 12th, today is the 13th, I was so tired after I finished Emma yesterday. The day was so oppressive in its rainy gloominess, although I wasn't gloomy, I was reading Emma. I apologize for being so awful yesterday about my vlogging. It was, as aforementioned, just a very visually uninteresting day, although I'm glad that this vlog actually carried over to today, because not only did that afford me the opportunity to get my final thoughts, bullet points down. Is it focusing? Is the camera focusing? Are you doing your job, baby? Yeah, I got my cute notes down, and I also made some tasty air fryer tofu. I've always loved tofu, but this little recipe for air fryer tofu that I originally got from Emmy Wong, and then I kind of just got my own measurements and have been messing with it and tweaking it myself. It turned out so good, and I get to share that with you guys now. So, final thoughts. I felt comfortable rating it after reading it, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. Let's start with the dislikes so we can end on a good note for this vlog. You know I love ending everything with a smile, so, but we gotta keep it real. So, dislikes. A part of me shriveled up inside like a California raisin when Mr. Knightley declared that he was sure he'd loved Emma since she was 13. Hello, Chris Hansen? Austin has collected all of the chat logs. Maybe this was just some lack of romantic insight on my part. In my head, I had thought of him acting more as a mentor to her, especially since he was the one person who wasn't afraid to point out to Emma all these ways in which she was wrong or had room to grow, had a capacity to work on herself. I had always seen him as in more of almost a paternal influence, and then they got together. I'll get more to what I do like about the couple in the like section. The ending overall just felt rushed and overly sanguine for me. Harriet's character in particular felt neglected and just kind of quickly tidied up with a bow. At the end, we see her rekindled love with Mr. Martin, which I had always wanted and kind of foreseen happening for her. But the way in which Austen wrote about it, it happened very quickly. Within like the last, if my memory isn't betraying me, like 10 pages of the book, we just hear that it happens, and maybe that is for the best since the book is called Emma. It's not called Harriet, but yeah, she just felt kind of brushed off to the side to me in that respect. And also just the sudden discovery of who her father was at the very end is truly indicative of Austen's unwillingness to portray any real gut-wrenching inequity of class systems or really make a very pointed critique of 1800 society. And which this goes back to that sort of Austen-Bronte dialogue I was speaking of before. Yes, what I observed before about that very powerful, very emotionally resonant, very unflinching criticism we see present in Wuthering Heights in Bronte's work, it is absent in Austen's, because the ending with all these things with Harriet, as I've said, the father's sudden approval of the union of Mr. Knightley and Emma, Jane's complete restoration to health, and just her willingness to be Emma's friend so quickly, even after Emma was teasing her for all this time and sort of neglecting her all this time. It's not unbelievable, but from Austen's end, I perceive an unwillingness to write about lasting consequences of things, either of structures in our society or actions of the characters. Going back to another Bronte-Austen comparison, Bronte does not shy away from race in her criticisms in Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff himself, it's unclear of what nationality or race he is, but it does say repeatedly that he is darker skinned, and that is without a doubt a looming factor in just his treatment. The only depiction of minorities at all that we see in Emma is when the plight of women, which in the 1800s especially was very real, but not at all on the level of the slave trade, which it is likened to. No. And there's an unfavorable depiction of, more specifically, the Romani people in the book. They are portrayed as street vermin. They accost Harriet and one of her friends, and then Frank Churchill comes like a white knight to save her. And it's it doesn't linger on that at all, but because I was comparing Austen to Bronte, and Bronte did such a great job in her criticism, when I noticed a race factor in Austen, I couldn't help I couldn't help comparing it to what Bronte did, and then, of course, consequently, I saw it lacking. Moving on to the likes. So let's return to the relationship of Mr. Knightley and Emma. As I've said many times throughout this vlog, I find Austen's writing to be incredibly charming, incredibly infused with wit, Well, it's true, till the very end, and it even had me excited almost. I was betraying my own feelings because Austen had performed witchcraft on me and had me rooting for this relationship. So when they were like walking on the grounds together and they were just on the verge of confessing to each other, the way that she wrote that scene made me just want it to happen. I don't know any other author which could do that for me, especially considering the scruples that I had with that relationship bearing fruit. And the good elements of that relationship of Mr. Knightley and Emma is that Mr. Knightley aids Emma in the growth which she independently sort of undergoes throughout the arc of the entire book. And I so enjoyed seeing Emma come out of her pride and grow into someone who was able to say, yes, I'm capable of doing wrong, and no, I do not know everything, and learning how to lean on the counsel of others. She thought herself to be as much on everybody else's mind as she was on her own mind. And by the end of the book, we see that self-reflection that she's always practicing is less from that root of self-absorption and more out of an interest to the collective betterment of those around her, and yes, as well as herself. But now she has a healthier degree of self-interest, and Mr. Knightley isn't afraid to show her the ways that she can grow, as I said before in the dislikes portion. And seeing a couple depicted where growth of the individual is encouraged and blooms in that relationship, I think that's really healthy. That's one of the things I value most in any interpersonal relationship, so that was nice to see. What Austen did with the setting, in how there were many lines about appreciating nature, and when we went to Mr. Knightley's estate, Austen has lines about appreciating the unadulterated natural architecture that had come more into style in that era of the 1800s, I suppose. Less fanciful, more embracing the elements in which the house was built. And that sort of reflects or is a crystallization of the theme that we need to appreciate and honor the natural courses of our emotions, especially in the shows. In the case of Harriet and Mr. Martin, Harriet allowed her true feelings to be adulterated by Emma's overbearing influence. Harriet had become Emma's pet project very willingly, so the substance of her feelings was marred for a considerable amount of time. So that sort of subtle integration of that theme, even when Harriet was absent, or when her presence in the book became substantially more minute, I thought was nice. speaking of Harriet, I really liked how she realized that she had to be her own person and have confidence in her own identity rather than becoming a fixture of or an extension of Emma's identity. And Harriet was, in many ways, Emma's antithesis, where Emma's sense of self was just so sure, too sure. She was too sure of who she was and how everything was. Harriet was entirely lacking in any sense of self, and she lacked any faith in her own intuition. So by the end of the book, we see, as I said before, Emma learned to kind of step back from that unhealthy degree of self-absorption, and Harriet sort of learn how to be her own person. So we see sort of opposite character arcs concurrently taking place in the same relationship. That was kind of cool. I liked that. And for Harriet to fully realize this, they kind of needed to drift apart by the end of the book. Of course, Harriet also physically moves away, I believe, with Mr. Martin, but Emma acknowledges that there's going to be a drifting apart in correspondence, and she kind of just accepts it as a good and necessary thing. And the book's acknowledgement that sometimes maybe friendships weren't the best idea. In this case, Emma undertook the friendship as a sort of pet project of hers. She always wanted to influence Harriet and meddle and all of these things. Or that, you know, friendships just have a natural expiration date sometimes, and that's okay. Both parties can move on from that friendship without any evil thing happening, without either of them being vilified, and they can go to grow in their own happiness after that. And that is perfectly normal, and the book embraces that sentiment, and I think that's so healthy. We don't need to mourn relationships that maybe lasted a substantial amount of time or were with us in a significant part of our life that aren't anymore. We can appreciate them for what they offered us at that moment and just feel that gratitude in our hearts, and rather than be sad that they are no longer, appreciate that we had them at all in the first place. Well, with that, you've reached the end of the video. Lots of dumpage as per usual, but that is what I'm known for. That's my hallmark. It wouldn't be a Lil video without lots of rambling and lots of disparate things that don't really go together, but I jam them all together because that's me. There's links, there's subscription buttons, there's like buttons down below. Subscribe for more dumpage, which, if you're not familiar, is my cute term for word vomit. Thank you for joining me and Emma and Austin on this little vlog journey. I'll shut up now. Goodbye.